Whenever India is shown in Hollywood films or TV shows, you might see something like this. Now we aren't going to deny that it's not true, but India is also this. But there is a deeper meaning to how this stereotype came to life and how it is still alive.
How did he do that? Indian magic.
Well, since its independence in 1947, India has always been a developing country, not a developed one, as the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer day by day. So depending on which film or TV show you're viewing, you may be left with contradictory impressions of India. Like as a nation with thriving IT industry, but mostly as a third world nation overwhelmed by poverty and famine. Or even as a spiritual mecca with an exotic, mystical culture frozen in more primitive time. And yoga, of course, how can we forget that? So that's how that stereotype came to life, but how is it still alive? Well, that stereotype is still alive because most of the things are still true. But that doesn't mean that you are going to find yourself in a situation like this. Even so, many Westerners still believe that India is a third world country and that is all thanks to the Hollywood. Now, it can be denied that Hollywood has its audience throughout the world. The bitter truth is the major part of the world views India as a poor and dirty nation, so Hollywood tries to show India in a way that most people in the world view. Besides, they consider such scenes exotic compared to the boring, monotonous, well-architectured buildings of an American city. It depends on the scriptwriter too, so if the story requires a poor and dirty Asian setting, for many people India comes first to mind. And that's because that's the way things are. Because every country has an image in the international market. Just think of a place and a scenario flashes in your brain. Britain, rich people partying, nightlife. USA, high-rise buildings and live life large type of people. Africa, poor black people living and undernourished children playing in the dirt. China, Corona, Kung Fu. India also has an image internationally of a very populous country with a huge proportion of its population living poorly. So until things change in real life, these stereotypes aren't going anywhere, although as the nation is progressing, the depiction of India in Hollywood films is getting better too. For example, in Captain America the Winter Soldier, the Indians had a seat in the World Security Council, not the Russians, not the French. Or India's rich and lavish portrayal in Mission Impossible 4 is a great example that things are changing. But until the ground reality changes, we are still going to see cows running around in the middle of the street. So to sum it up, here's a scenario we found on Quora that shows how things stand between the West and India. Now let's say you have a maid who works at home. She's poor, lives in a bad neighborhood, gets paid peanuts. She does all the menial jobs at your home and you boss her around, treat her like a servant. Fast forward a couple of decades. Her son has studied well and started working, earning a decent salary. Her standard of living is improving and she stopped working as a maid. Now she's not as rich as you yet, but things have improved significantly for her. You meet her at the market after many years. How are you going to acknowledge her? As a former maid or as an equal? There is the same case with the West and India. The Westerners are too used to seeing India in poor and destitute conditions. They just sometimes refuse to see the development and the progress India has been making in the past decade.